Hi there, chapter 44. Um, so when we left Odd, he had just taken that card that had the braille on it to his friend Seamus, who was a DJ in the middle of the night at the local radio station. Seamus is blind, and so he had taken it to Seamus for him to read, and Seamus had said that it says Father of Lies on it. So that's kind of where we left off. Just a little bit of a warning, as has become the norm of late. Our loudmouth blue jay is around today, so I apologize in advance for his bitchiness in the background. He obviously likes this story enough to keep showing up, but he has a real chip on his shoulder. So anyway, apologize in advance in case he gets loud. Okay, here we go, chapter 44. The red dawn came, the sun like an executioner's blade slicing up from the dark horizon. Elsewhere in Pico Mundo, a would-be mass murderer might have been looking at the sunrise while inserting cartridges and spare magazines for his assault rifle. I parked in the driveway and turned off the engine. I could wait no longer to learn if the shooter who popped Bob Robertson had also murdered Rosalia Sanchez. Yet 2 or 3 minutes passed before I found sufficient courage to get out of the car. The night birds had fallen silent. Usually active at first light, the morning crows had not yet appeared. Climbing the back porch steps, I saw that the screen door was closed, but that the door stood open. The kitchen lights were off. I peered through the screen. Rosalia sat at the table, her hands folded around a coffee mug. She appeared to be alive. Appearances can be deceiving. Her dead body might be awaiting discovery in another room, and this might be her earthbound spirit with its hands around the mug that she had left when she'd gone to answer the killer's knock on her door the previous evening. I could not smell freshly brewed coffee. Always before, when she waited for me to arrive to tell her that she was visible, the lights had been on. I had never seen her sitting in the dark like this. Rosalia looked up and smiled as I entered the kitchen. I stared at her, afraid to speak, for fear that she was a lingering spirit and could not answer. "Good morning, Odd Thomas." Dread blew out of me with my pent-up breath. "You're alive." "Of course I'm alive. I know I'm a long way down the road from the young girl I used to be, but I don't look dead, I hope." "I meant visible. You're visible." "Yes, I know. The 2 policemen told me, so I didn't have to wait for you this morning." "Policemen?" "It was good knowing early. I turned out the lights and just enjoyed sitting here watching the dawn develop." She raised her mug. Would you like some apple juice, Odd Thomas?" "No, thank you, ma'am." "Did you say 2 policemen?" "They were nice boys." "When was this?" "Oh, not 40 minutes ago. They were worried about you." "Worried? Why?" "They said someone reported hearing a gunshot come from your apartment." "Isn't that ridiculous, Odd Thomas?" I told them I hadn't heard anything. I was sure that the call reporting the shot had been made anonymously, because the caller had likely been Robertson's killer. Mrs. Sanchez said, "I asked them what on earth you'd be shooting at in your apartment. I told them you don't have mice." She raised her mug to take a sip of apple juice and then said, "You don't have mice, do you?" "No, ma'am." "They wanted to look anyway. They were concerned about you. Nice boys, careful to wipe their feet. They didn't touch a thing." "You mean you showed them my apartment?" After swallowing some apple juice, she said, "Well, they were policemen, and they were so worried about you, and they felt much better when they didn't find that you'd shot your foot or something. I was glad I'd moved Robertson's body immediately upon finding it in my bathroom." "Odd Thomas, you never came around last night to get the cookies I baked for you. Chocolate chip with walnuts, your favorite." A plate, heaped with cookies covered with plastic wrap, stood on the table. "Thank you, ma'am. Your cookies are the best." I picked up the plate. "I was wondering, do you think I could borrow your car for a little while?" "But didn't you just drive up in it?" My blush was redder than the spreading dawn beyond the windows. "Yes, ma'am." "Well, then, you've already borrowed it," she said without the slightest trace of irony. "No need to ask twice." I retrieved the keys from a pegboard by the refrigerator. "Thank you, Mrs. Sanchez. You're too good to me." "You're a sweet boy, Odd Thomas. You remind me so much of my nephew, Marco. Come September, he'll have been invisible 3 years." Marco, with the rest of his family, had been aboard one of the planes that flew into the World Trade Center. She said, I keep thinking he'll turn visible again any day, but it's been so long now. Don't you ever go invisible, Odd Thomas. Man, she breaks my heart sometimes. I won't, I assured her. When I bent down and kissed her brow, she put a hand to my head, holding my face to hers. Promise me you won't. I promise, ma'am. I swear to God. All right, that was chapter 44. Come back next time. Let's see where Odd Thomas is going next.